Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazal Ministries podcast.
Hello, fellow geekologists. Welcome to Hawkins, Indiana, and perhaps the Upside Down. You know, I can't even tell anymore if I'm in the Upside Down world or the real world. I don't know. We are your priests to the geeks, and that just means that we're the mediators and curators at the intersection of pop culture and our faith. And I have two of my favorite priests to the geeks with me today, Laura and Kevin. And friends, we have a challenge set out for us today. We have to discuss, or called to discuss, or lured to discuss. We can't help it. We want to discuss 4 seasons of Stranger Things in around 30 minutes or so. So you guys up for this?
I'm up for the challenge. I don't know how. Yeah, we'll see.
I believe in us.
I especially love this one because it's like, you know, I mean, each season gets longer and longer, and like each episode is like a movie. So I could go on for hours and hours on this.
We
show,
sure could. We sure could.
We will try to keep it concise.
We will, because this is a part of our bonus series, Flix Fridays, discussing those bingeable shows on Netflix. And this is the finale. This is the finale of this series. And so why not end with what some would consider the best bingeable show, or perhaps the show that pioneered bingeable. We're not talking about House of Cards. We're talking about Stranger Things. And so it's time to battle this Demogorgon and get justice for Barb. Let's talk Stranger Things. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So how did you guys get introduced to this show? Were you there from the beginning? This is the first season, debuted in the summer of 2016. Kevin, how did you find the show? Were you there from the beginning, or did someone say, hey, we know you're a nerd, we know you're a geek, you have to hop in on this? It's got lots of geek pop culture references.
I was there right from the beginning. I mean, this was like a show tailor-made for me, so I binged that first season, that opening weekend or whenever, and fell in love with it right away. Especially once I learned that the creators were from North Carolina, all of the pop culture nostalgia that I loved was embedded into it. So I was a fan straight from the beginning. And I was because I remember a friend of mine, Zach Smith, who was writing for Indie Week at the time, which is one of our local independent newspapers. He was able to do a feature on it before it debuted. And so at that time, I was helping a lot with NC Comic Con. And I was like, let's try to get the Duffer Brothers to the show. And by then, it blew up so quickly, and they got so busy, and they were already working on season 2, so it didn't work out. But that's still my dream, is to meet and possibly interview them one day. We'll see if it happens. But I was one of its early evangelists and telling everyone to watch it, and I was a fan right there from day one.
Cool. Laura, how about you?
So I was there pretty much from the beginning. I did not watch it immediately when it came out because I knew it involved a kid disappearing. And as a mom, I was like, And then my husband was like, trust me, I really think you need to watch this because this is everything you love. And then we did, and I was immediately hooked. And then by the time seasons 2 and 3 rolled around, like we were doing countdowns for the show. So I was there from the beginning for sure.
Nice.
Laura, if I can give a quick anecdote there, I know I could go on and on about like trivia for the show, but a really interesting fact, since you brought that up, is that the Duffer Brothers were heavily inspired by the movie Prisoners, which came out in 2013, directed by Denis Villeneuve, who is, of course, one of the hugest filmmakers today. But that movie is about child disappearance around Thanksgiving, and they took that as major inspiration. They wanted to craft a thriller around that, but with a heavy supernatural emphasis as well.
Nice. Yeah, I remember I'm a weekly listener to Rebel Force Radio. That's my favorite Star Wars podcast. And I remember them having a conversation that summer about this show, Stranger Things, that had 80s pop culture references, and there were like Star Wars action figures in the background, and they were talking about all these kind of retro references to Star Wars and pop culture, and they're like, oh, you gotta check this out, there's a big Millennium Falcon hanging it behind. And I was like, oh, what is this, and so then they're like, oh, if you like the Goonies, if you like Stephen King, if you like anything kind of nostalgic for the 80s, this show is just, that's the timepiece, for what's going on here with these kids, and it has a sci-fi PG horror kind of element to it. And so I hopped back in, and then my kids at the time were 14 and 12. And so they were just now like, oh, well, let's kind of ramp up our TV show watching, our thriller, horror, mystery, all that stuff. And they were hooked immediately. So whereas for me, kind of coming of age was Star Wars, Karate Kid, Goonies, that kind of stuff, Stranger Things, and Harry Potter was definitely for my kids. They were like, that's my Star Wars, that's my Goonies, and they were just hooked. So we were the same way. Appointment television, when season 2 came out, I remember it dropped, and we woke the kids up like 2 hours early before school, cooked waffles, and we all ate our Eggo waffles while watching the first 2 episodes before they went to school the next day. So that was just a core memory for us as a family, and just have been real big geeks about the show, and can't wait for the next season to come in. So, all right, 4 seasons, debuted 2016, then it was 2017, then it was 2019, then another 3 years to 2022 that came out in 2 parts, and now we're waiting for the final 5th season. Laura, if you had to sum up in a handful of paragraphs what this show is about, you're in an elevator and it's like, I haven't heard of Stranger Things. What is that about? And before you get off the elevator, what are you going to say? It's a tall challenge. Like, I just sprung this on her. So
yeah. And I'm also really bad at the summaries in a quick way because I'm a preacher and I like to talk. So
you like to exegete. I know.
I do. I can't give the synopsis without giving my commentary. But I mean, the basic gist of the first season, if you haven't watched it at all, is it takes place in the 1980s in Hawkins, Indiana. And in the first season, we're starting around November 1983. And it's the story that we're finding is that Will Byers has disappeared, and the whole season is sort of this search for him, trying to figure out where he is. And it is his mother who starts getting really crafty and doing some things to sort of tap into what we eventually know to be the upside down, to get messages from Will and figure out exactly what's going on. And it's really through her commitment to the story that we're able to find a resolution and figure out where Will is. But what we quickly realized beyond in other seasons is that the upside down never really leaves, that there's this sort of breaking through and connection to the upside down in different places and in different times. And so that's a really terrible summary, but that's the summary I'm giving you. Elevator ride's over.
The elevator ride, and they've been left wanting more. So they leave, and as they're walking down the hallway, they see Kevin, and they see that he's wearing a Stranger Things t-shirt, and they're like, Laura just told me some stuff about. I want to know a little bit more. Kevin, what more can you tell me about Stranger Things? And I only have down this hallway to share, and so you're tasked with walking down this hallway and sharing what you think Stranger Things is about.
So, I think that's a great elevator pitch there. And I would just add that looking at each season, because in the first season, the kind of central strange things that happen are the arrival of a young girl named Eleven with supernatural abilities. And we don't really know what her deal is. And she has there's some kind of government conspiracy linked to her origin. So we learn a lot about that. There is also a monster that named the Demogorgon, which they derive from D&D mythology, and they coin and the monster, that term, but it stems from a parallel universe called the Upside Down. And so these concepts come into play early in season 1, but then as the later seasons progress, we learn so much more about this world, and as we were talking about right before recording, each season corresponds with a different holiday. So as Laura talked about, season 1 is very near Thanksgiving and then Christmas. Season 2 is very revolved around Halloween. Season 3 very revolved around July 4th. And then season 4 takes place over spring break. And so we see all these elements come together. We see influences from different 80s eras of pop culture. So season 1 is very influenced by Spielberg, E.T., Goonies. And then by the time we get to season 4, we get a lot more Stephen King and horror influence. So it's as much a hybrid and a love letter to the pop culture that the Duffer Brothers grew up with. And it also modernizes it and brings it into something that, like you said, Will, that your kids can really easily enjoy and digest. And it means as much to them as it does to you that you were growing up on the movies and music that heavily influenced the show.
Nicely done. So then they turn the corner and they like, thanks, Kevin. And they go into their hotel room and I'm sitting on their bed going, oh, do you want to learn more about Stranger Things? I have a D&D set out and I'm like, we're going to play D&D and we're going to roll some dice. And let me tell you about 80s Cold War culture with Russia and US. And there's this underground conspiracy of this. They're experimenting on kids. And this person then calls the cops. They're like, why are you in my room? I don't know who you are. And so I get kicked out and I get arrested. So
security if that happens.
They call security, and when they call, danger. and then when they call security, this guy named Hopper shows up and is like, "What is going on here?" And he's got a coffee cup that says like, "Mornings
are for coffee and contemplation."
Mornings are for contemplation. Yeah, so that a cop shows up and takes me away, and then there's the end of our show, y'all. I'm arrested, and now the rest of we have to do a GoFundMe to get me out of prison. No, but yeah, they explain it great, and that is each of these seasons is a coming of age story with these kids that you really kind of start off in the kids' basement with them playing D&D and adventure. They don't have phones yet. They don't have computers. They don't have the internet. They just have their bikes and their friendships and their imaginations. And so there's this call to adventure among their friend group. But then you have like the older siblings who are wrestling with high school, not just middle school or late elementary school growing up and middle school, but also their older siblings who are in high school. They're wrestling with coming of age and what it means to grow up and those kinds of things. So, and the whole backdrop and context is this kind of 80s Cold War era government conspiracy, but also this supernatural horror, sci-fi element to these to what's going on around them. And yeah, it's just an incredible adventure. And the soundtrack and the score and the font that they use to show what town they're in or project stranger things of it. There's strange things that happen in the show for 4 seasons. They just ramp it up after every season. So I just adore this show and love it so much, and looking forward to see how they land this plane with season 5.
It better be good.
And also, oh my gosh, there's so much anticipation. They've got to stick the landing. But also one thing I want to add to, Laura, since you were talking about the parent angle there too, is, a lot of the coming of age stories that inspire Stranger Things are so focused on the kids, and the adults are kind of absent in a lot of those. Like you look at Goonies, like there are, and the parents are just like not there. There is, obviously the kids in the show are primary characters, but one of the things that's really interesting about Stranger Things, and actually made it hard for the Duffer Brothers to pitch, is that there's as much focus on some of the adult characters as there are the kids. And so you're able to with Hopper, who is, Will was mentioning, as the sheriff of the town, who becomes one of the prime characters and a fan favorite, along with Joyce, who is one of the mom of 2 of the main kid characters in the show. That's one of the things that makes it so interesting, is the generational aspects. And you get to see kids, teenagers, and adults all play a very active role in the story.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the truth is they have to do that, because the truth is that this story and the way it's written is a love letter to Gen X and millennials, right? And so you have to include our age now into the characters, because it was our age that it was appealing to in the 80s, and it's going to be our age that it appeals to now. So like it's a nod.
Yeah.
I also have to mention that I named my dog after Hopper. So I have a little Chihuahua named Hopper
Nice.
Hash Browns, and he is the best dog in the world. So
Nice. Does he
Had
have a
to give
shirt
Hopper
that
a shout
says
out.
"The mornings are for coffee and contemplation"? That's a shirt
Yep.
that little Hopper. I need to meet your dog. That's fun.
Oh,
super fun.
that's how much we love this show. Is I named my dog after him immediately.
Yep.
So
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's
You
definitely.
can I know this episode isn't on YouTube, but you can see some of my Stranger Things merch in the background. I've got a upside down poster and then a Hopper action figure on that wall behind me.
I need that. Yeah, it was definitely a Christmas where like the kiddos like for Christmas got a bunch of Stranger Things merch and posters and to put on their walls and T-shirts and soundtracks, all that stuff, because it was just, it's just so much fun. All right, so as we got to stay focused, I wish we could pick apart every single season and talk about every single character and talk about the intersection of the politics and the faith and friendship, and we don't lie to each other, we tell the truth, right? And so all those things that are part of the show. But since we're a short amount of time, we do encourage people to go watch this, binge it, especially for this next season. All right, we're going to kind of go through. We're going to talk about our favorite season, our favorite character, favorite pop culture reference, and perhaps your favorite 80s song that's used. And so we're going to kind of quick hits: favorite season, character, pop culture reference, and see. So first, favorite season. We'll go around the horn. Laura, go first. Favorite season.
Okay. Favorite season is season 2 because I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. We have more
Nice.
proton packs in our house than any human being should. And I mean, like we built some proton packs. So when they did a whole Ghostbusters thing, that was our life. We were in for it. So
Laura.
season 2, but I also have a strong love for season 3. So
Yeah, Laura, you get cooler and cooler every time I talk to you. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the anticipation and the trailer, because I like Halloween. I like Michael Jackson Thriller is one of my favorite songs of all time, and they incorporated like that for the trailer and led into Ghostbusters, and them going out and trick or treating. And when are you too old to trick or treat or not, and be kids or not? Like, that season 2 is so good. I agree. The anticipation season 1 was great, but season 2, loved it. Kevin, how about you?
If you had asked me a couple years ago, I would have said season 2, and I still love that season because I love all Ghostbusters and all the Halloween elements. But it's funny because when I first saw the season, I was a little iffy on it because I thought it was a little too long. But the more I watched it, I'm like, gosh, this is so epic. Season 4, the most recent, partly because it has some of my favorite characters. I love the arcs. I just love how they built so much momentum and stakes in that. And like I said, introduced a lot more of the horror elements that were still present from the beginning, but really zeroed in on those in season 4. And it is just breathtaking, the action sequences in that season, everything they pull off, that you're watching it and you're like, this is a show? Like, this is like, I mean, it's like you get a movie an episode. I mean, like, I still have my gripes, but like, they're more nitpicky at this point. I really love the emotional journey of that season and just how big and bombastic it gets. So I really love that one.
The whole use of Metallica, Master of Puppets, and that. Come on!
Oh my God,
golly,
it's so
what
good.
in the world? Yeah, good call, good pull. Yeah, so 2 season 2s and season 4. Who knows? By the end of this, we might all say season 5. Laura, all right, favorite character?
Hopper. That's
Hopper.
easy.
Easy. Shout out to Hopper Hash Browns as well. Yeah, Hopper. Yeah, good. Kevin, how about you? Favorite character?
I have kind of a tie of Dustin from the beginning and is the one I most like too. Both as like comic relief, but he also has like a lot of emotional maturity too. And I was like following his journey. But the one who, rest in peace, but Eddie from season before, I absolutely loved his arc and I was heartbroken when they killed him off. It's a great scene with the Metallica. But I'll get into, if we have time, I can get a little more about his thing of an outsider and being Russian side. And I just love Joseph Quinn's performance. So he's one of my favorites too.
Nice.
But this is a hard one though, because Robin, there's so many.
They're all great. It's, you can't pick a favorite kid, but but I will say your own children. But I will say, Dustin for me is by far, like, I just love that kid so much and watched him grow. But then a close second is Steve. I just like Steve's character arc and him growing and becoming friends with the kids, and what he's experienced, and then his relationship with Robin has been great. So yeah.
Also, let's not forget Barb. Justice for Barb.
Justice for Barb, man. Maybe in season 5, maybe she'll come back. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping.
It's just more that I wish they would address it more. That's one of the like gaping holes there. Is like, I mean, she was the best friend of Nancy. But I also, just a quick note about Steve. I do love the arc as well, because you're watching season 1 and you think he's just going to be the douchey bully that you're not going to like at all, and to see him go from that to a fan favorite and to have this arc and maturity, I love it, and I really love what they did with that character.
Okay, cool. All right, favorite pop culture reference. It could be a deep cut. It could be plain in sight. They reference so many. But what would you say is your favorite one? Kevin, we'll go with you first. Give Laura some time to think.
This is tough, but it's more kind of a theme throughout the season 2, the Halloween one. But the amount of stuff to do with aliens in that, both in terms of casting, they bring in. I'm drawing a blank on. Dang it! I'm drawing a blank on the name. Who plays the Doctor, but he was in Aliens. On there. But that, and then just in terms of the execution of the action sequences in that, with the Mayflare, and it's like very like zombie-like, and so I just really love that. It was it's not, they don't directly say it, but they kind of built that season around aliens.
Nice. Laura, how about you?
The whole My Little Pony dialogue that happens in season 3, when he makes the whole case about how My Little Pony is really just D&D, and there's a whole thing behind it, and I don't know, it's great. I love the whole conversation there.
Yeah, I do. That's good. I didn't see that one coming. That's a great pull. I love that. I'm tempted to say D&D because it kind of starts there, and that kind of in the resurgence of the popularity of D&D and board games. I think Stranger Things was actually a big part of that resurgence, and people going, yeah, that was cool. Let's get back into that. But for me, I'm such a comic book fan and an X-Men fan. The fact that the 11 is kind of like Jean Grey and the Dark Phoenix and this mind control, and they even reference like this Claremont run of the Dark Phoenix arising and having this telekinesis and powers their own play. They did Jean Grey better than the X-Men movies with 11. I love it. That's my deep cut. I love
just a quick one is that they takes till the end of season 3, but they finally land at a video store where Steve and Robin get jobs there, and I absolutely love that scene when the guy is interviewing them and he's like, okay, what's your favorite movies? And Steve's like, Animal House, and then Robin names off like The Apartment and all these classics and deep cuts. I love the dynamic between them.
Video store. Yes, the video store. Yep. I love it. All right, it's cool. So this Stranger Things has the best soundtrack in all streaming shows. I don't know how much they have to pay and getting permission to use this kind of music, but yeah, since it's made a lot of money, it can spend that kind of money. But all right, favorite 80s song or soundtrack pull that they pull from here. Laura, how about you?
The Never Ending Story theme song. There is not a better moment in the whole show than that. And because of that, my kids know the song inside and out now too, and it's just so great. But like when they pulled that out and started singing it, like the second they start that whole sequence with Dustin and his girlfriend singing that song, like the minute they started, you're like, oh no, we're doing this, and it's so great, and I love it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's Kevin, relationship goals also.
So. Yeah. You found the right one when that. Kevin, how about you?
This is one the show introduced me to, and I did it for a lot of people, but Running Up the Hill by Kate Bush became an absolute, like I say, it became an absolute classic. It already was for a long time, but it went through the show, it was able to reintroduce that song and Kate Bush to a whole new generation. And I absolutely fell in love with it, and I fell in love with her work. So I have a huge geek playlist that I continually add to, and that's one of the songs on there. So I love that, and especially because of the cinematic aspect of it tying into Max's story in season 4. It's just there's some great scenes that it's used with. So I love that song.
I do love the use of that song in the show. I think it was fantastic.
And it's funny that song, after that happened, I mean, yeah, it was an 80s classic. It was, great, top of the best of 80s soundtrack. But then all the like normal, regular pop radio stations were playing that song because of the show, and everybody was loving it so much. I think it was leading. We got introduced to Billy at season 3, 4th of July, so that the trailer for season 3, when they played Moving in Stereo by the Cars, is just so good. I was just, man, they're genius when it comes to setting up these trailers and edits. But yeah, the Cars, Moving in Stereo. But then, man, I tell you, one of the most heartbreaking moments is when they're at the lake season 1 and they're trying to figure out where Will is, and they think that he fell into the lake, and they start playing Peter Gabriel's cover of Heroes by David Bowie. It's just like Peter Gabriel is just beautifully haunting to me, most of his stuff. And so when they covered Heroes, that was just heartbreaking, where we're all crying as a family and while we're watching it. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful song. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah. So, all right, we got a few minutes left. We're doing good on time. If we were going to like focus on like just one of the themes that we think is important for this show, Kevin alluded to it a little bit. Laura, we know I have to go shortly, but if there's a theme from this show, again, an elevator pitch of like one of the themes you think is important here, what would you kind of tease out of this as a theme, or something that us geekologists can go a little beneath the surface with, and helping people think through?
Yeah, I would go back to earlier what I said about the generational aspect of the show, because again, so many 80s movies and shows, they put all the focus on the kids, which was great at the time, because like I think that was, the kids kind of like felt unseen and stuff, and so they did that. But then they made the adult characters like non-existent, and they do comment on that here too, because they do it with the Wheelers' father is pretty much completely absent the whole time. I mean, he's just totally ignorant and not really present in his family's life, and it's the mom has to do more. So they do comment on him as like the stereotype in that regard, but they put so much emphasis on each generation. So like I said, the kids, the teenagers, the adults, and their dynamics and their relationships, and all trying to better understand each other. And you look at Hopper, who has a great arc of, he starts out as this like, oh, here's the grumpy sheriff who, sleeps around and drinks too much. And then you realize he has this tragic backstory with the loss of his daughter, and he's wrestling with all these things. And he has such a heart, and he's so much yearning to be a father again. And having that taken from him really destroyed him for the longest time. And so a lot of the show is about his rebirth, and, the relationship between him and Eleven is beautiful. And so, it really makes it an effort to dive into the flaws and the strengths of each character in different generations, and helping them to better understand each other. So that's one of my favorite aspects of the show, and a really strong thematic material.
Yeah, I love that. How about you, Laura?
So I think for me, it's nostalgia and innocence and wonder. This show had to take place in the 80s, right? Because it would never work today, because we got social media and TikTok and the whatever it is that the kids use nowadays. They wouldn't be out wandering around on their bicycles to begin with and doing all of the things that they're doing. And I think there's a sense in like just the very resurgence of D&D since Stranger Things, and how people, like some people that never went away, right? But there was a strong renewed interest in things like D&D and like theater of the mind and imagination that we seem to have lost. And so the nostalgia aspect of that show, I think, is something like I said, season 2 is my favorite, but I have a very strong sentimental attachment to season 3. And the reason is it came out on 4th of July, and I love the 4th of July because it's hot dogs and fireworks and all of that stuff. I love it. I get so excited every year. But they did the best marketing in the world for that season, because they did like the Diet Coke cans and not Diet Coke, but it was the new Coke. They re-released it And remember, I still remember that whole
New
debacle
Coke.
because my grandmother collected Coke everything. And when Coke changed the recipe, she was like, I'm done with this. Like she protested and everything. It was crazy. So when they did that, they did the marketing with the Coke, they did the Eggos, they did all of this stuff. And then Fortnite also had the introduction of like Scoops Ahoy and all that. So like for our whole family, we binge watched the entire season on the 4th of July. We played Fortnite. We drank the Coke, like all of the things. And I have such a fond memory of the day that it was released because it was beautiful. So I think just the theme in itself of nostalgia and then how they recreated that and let us live into it each time there's a new season introduced. So for me, I think nostalgia, wonder, feeling those feelings that we don't get to feel as often anymore. So that's,
I love that your grandma acted like Star Wars fans when they changed up a character a little bit with
oh
Coke.
my gosh,
like, I'm done. I'm going on the message boards. I'm going on the message boards. I'm going to share my. She acted like me with Last Jedi, and I was like, oh, calm down, Will. Calm down. You'll be okay.
She wrote letters, and she did like letters to the editor of the newspaper, and was like, to whom it may concern, because that's how people type. Like
there you go.
Y'all can't see that.
Okay. But, Yeah. I love that. Yeah. All those themes are great. And I'm with you. I think it's definitely a coming of age story. So you have this friendship. You're growing up from younger to adolescence to your relationships and what's important. There's jealousy. There's grief. There's finding identity. We're going to find more out probably in season 5 about Will's identity and him wrestling with a lot of stuff, whether it's his sexuality or friendship or whatever. There's those things you're wrestling with, and who's your friends, and their tagline is friends don't lie. And so as the backdrop of this government conspiracy and government's lying to the people and keeping it behind the scenes and keeping secrets, with these friends don't keep secrets. They don't lie to each other. It's found family, the friendship among one another and the growing and how friendships and family evolve over time too. We become different people, and how can we still be friends even though we evolve ourselves and grow? What does that mean? Loss of innocence, but also how can we still be friends with each other, deeper, committed friends with those around us, and how to deal with that conflict and all those things. So yeah, a lot of things in this is like, if you just have a good, healthy, honest conversation, you probably will save yourself a lot of heartbreak. And that true in most of our lives and circles and workplace. Yeah. So, man, so good. I would guess that you rank this high and you recommend this to everyone. Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
I would certainly.
Yeah, we all say 10. We all recommend it. Go do it. Go. If you haven't watched any things.
If you need any more convincing to show you how much I love it, I mean, this is a Netflix streaming show. I have a subscription. I also have a physical copy of the first couple seasons. They're shaped like VHSs. They're on Blu-ray, but they're shaped like a VHS box, and I have that on my shelf.
Dude, that's probably very smart, because with the streaming service, you never know what company's going to go bankrupt and just quit and take it off. You'll never be able to see it again. A hard copy, collectible DVD or Blu-ray or VHS tape of Stranger Things would be super, super rad. All right, before we go, what's your hope, in a sentence or two, your hope for season 5? What is a hope? Oh. This is when we start playing the Stranger Things theme song while we like Jeopardy, while we're wait for the answer. If Joshua can.
Okay, this sounds a little paradox, but I want both. There's characters I want to end up happy and have a night, I want Joyce and Hopper to be together, for instance. But I also want characters to die, because the cast is way too big at the end, and there needs to be some finale and resolution to something. And it's not just screw, I don't like this character. It's like, no, it's just that they've had an arc, and I'm not going to name specific characters right now for that, but it's gotta be a body count a little bit. I'm not saying a massacre, but I want there to be a mix of death and tragedy, and also hopeful resolution.
Nice. Laura.
I agree. I just want Hopper to be happy. That's all I'm asking. Just give Hopper a happy ending, okay?
He does. Yeah.
Yep. I agree with that. I would like season 5. I would love justice for Barb. I want Hopper to have a good send off, heroic send off, right into the sunset, happily ever after. Not sure that's what's going to happen. And then, I don't know what I would like to see more I mean, I guess we saw more of like she's number 11 and all the different kids and numbers, but that a little bit more a superhero team come together with different powers, and just said that might be too much. But I love those superhero teams, and so if we can bring some X-Men and X-Women together and some mutants and fight the final thing. The other thing is just like the small versus the large. Like you have these kids that really shouldn't beat a Demogorgon or the Upside Down, but yet they still win because of love and friendship. So I love this kind of element of like the mustard seed of faith, the hobbits, that which is small and unassuming ends up winning the day because it's about love and friendship. So as long as they land that plane right there, I will let them tell the story that they want to tell. All right. One more final question. Man, we did it. We're 33 minutes in.
We're getting ready
to set. Look at us. We will have more. We will have more discussions and pregame shows leading into season 5. Whenever that comes out, we'll talk about more season definitely. And when season 5 comes out, we'll be on this geeking out hard around that. But all right. So you finished binging seasons 1 through 4. What's the next show you binge or the next thing you do after this show? Laura, what do you do? You're done.
I'm immediately going to play D&D with my kids and force them to play with me throughout a whole campaign. We always start D&D campaigns, and then after like 5 sessions, they're like, why are we still doing this? But I'm going to be like, pull it together. So that's what I'm going to do. We've already done the Stranger Things D&D campaign, which is a lot of fun. And if you haven't haven't done it, I can't talk today. Highly recommend it. It's really great. You can get it at Ollie's for like $5, like the whole set. Sorry.
Cool. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Play D&D.
I love it. So what I'll do is I just got arrested at showing at that stranger's hotel room. Now I show up on Laura's doorstep, knock on the door. And I was like, I'm here for the D&D campaign. That's what I'm doing. I'll be a part of your D&D campaign. And you're like, well, how'd you find out where I lived? All right, I'm calling Hopper to come get you. So, but no, I'm going to jump into D&D as well. I want to go theater of the mind. I don't want to scroll on my phone. I don't want to look at like theories for season 5 or I want to play like D&D in person, looking in their face, rolling a real die. That's what I'm doing right after this. Or I'm going to go out and ride my bike and look for like in the woods or something. That's what I'm going to do after doing that. Kevin, how about you?
If they're available, Alamo Drafthouse did a John Carpenter screening of like all of his movies a few years ago. Hypothetically, if that's playing right when I finish, I'm going to go take a bunch of friends and force them to watch all of John Carpenter movies that they haven't seen before, that are heavy referenced throughout Stranger Things. So like They Live, and Escape from New York, and so many others.
Man, I'm leaving the D&D campaign with Laura, and then I'm meeting you at the Alamo House and watching those movies with you. Yes,
I do love Alamo, and I wish that they would just do like a binge watch session of Stranger Things at Alamo. That would be great.
And it would be amazing. I think they would be more than happy to. It's a lot of times because they'll occasionally do TV episode streams there, but it's a matter of like getting the company to agree and all that.
For sure.
I would love for Netflix to let that happen, have screenings at Alamo and other theaters.
And I would love for the Duffer Brothers, if you're listening to this episode, since you're from Durham, since you a lot of North Carolina deep cuts and references in your show, I think you should come to North Carolina Comic-Con and do a panel where Kevin and Laura and I will moderate that panel and ask you all kind of geeky questions for a crossover podcast with Systematic Geekology and whatever they want to put it on NC Comic-Con. That's what we're going to do and manifest right now. Please, Lord, make that happen. Thank you all for tuning in to this and binging these shows with us. We could talk forever, and man, we're super stoked for season 5. And yeah, reach out to us. What are you binge watching? What are shows that you love? And remember, whether you're in the upside down or the right side up, you are loved, and we include you in our priests to the geeks, systematic geekologists. Love you guys. Peace.
Hello there, listener. This is Evan Garcia, and I just wanted to jump in here to remind you and to let you know of our Facebook groups and our Discord server. These are great communities where you can post and share memes and talk with the hosts, and we have votes and some polls for future episode topics and fun interactions with our host. So just wanted to remind you that we are focused on community with you listeners, and we love each and every one of you guys listening. Thank you, guys. Hello there, listener. Thanks for listening. This is Evan Garcia. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We just wanted to come in and remind you that this episode is part of a bigger network of podcasts called the Anazao Podcast Network. We have great shows like the Whole Church Podcast, Kung Fu Pizza Party, and the Homily with Pastor Chill Will. Chill Will, the podcast has sermons from our host, Pastor Will. Great sermons every time. The Kung Fu Pizza Party is Brandon Knight showing his expertise and his passion for everything Kung Fu films. And he dispenses a bunch of wisdom. Great show. And the Whole Church Podcast, where Josh and TJ interview people from different denominations and church traditions to pursue greater church unity. It's a great podcast to see what other denominations are included. And we just want to say thank you so much for listening. See you next time.